I am so excited for today's conversation. I have Mr. Christiana Rojas from the Bold Babe Society. Thank you so much for being with us this evening, my dear. I was just chastising you a little bit because we were in a little bit of a rush as working women who have families, who have all stuff going on. I know you're a very busy woman, so I really appreciate you being here with us tonight.
Yes, of course. I'm so honored to be here, like I said before. So happy.
Um, Thank you for taking the time. It is an honor to have you in our presence. And I have a ton of questions I want to go through with you. But before we even start talking, tell us more about the Bold Babe Society and what inspired you to start such a movement.
So the first of all, the Bull Babe Society, it came to me because from originally living in California, I moved from San Diego to Virginia Beach. And being a business owner, kind of starting from scratch, I was looking for community. I am a very extroverted person, but I also wanted to find more like-minded women that were an entrepreneur, or that I kind of go alongside and just find like more of a empowering community. And I was pretty blessed to have, one of my best friends who I moved to be closer to as well, to have her here and
Mhm.
her support system. But on a professional level, I also wanted to find that as well. And so it kind of just struck something in me that when I was looking for community, like meetup groups for small business owners, or just women getting together, I
Mhm.
didn't feel like there was a lot of options for us. Um,
Mhm.
and coming from San Diego, I mean, there is a lot of different meetup groups. And so I was like, you know what? I feel like I have to create something. And I
Mhm.
feel like the entrepreneur in me was like a little bit timid at first, because I really had to like step into myself. But I just felt called to it. And there was just like this pull on my heart. And I'm like, all right, like, let's do it, create this community. And I'm still learning. Like it's kind of molding into this. I know it's going to just completely go in the direction that it's supposed to go, but it's basically just finding women that are looking for connection. They're looking for whether it be a personal friendship or a professional connection.
Mhm.
I want to give women voices, to be able to speak their mind if they have something that they're working on, whether it's a new business or something that they're creating in the community, making a difference. I'm so empowered by women's stories. And I feel like we have so much to offer. So
Mhm.
with the Full Life Society, it's a community where, everyone is welcome. And we do these different meetup groups that they're so vast. I mean, we've done a few different kind, whether it's a fun shooting event to where you can learn, self-defense
Mhm.
around firearms if you've never held a gun before, or, and it's just all women getting together in a comfortable, safe environment. And that's so empowering. The event that we did with you, which was at Movement is Medicine, which was, just grazing the surface on like women's health and
Mhm.
pelvic floor health. And that was
Mhm.
just amazing. So, yeah, on the short of it, just creating these different events and meetups and reasons for us to all get together so that we can, individually be empowered by each other, but also grow as a community.
You know, that saying, empowered women empower women, is such a strong saying, and it's used in multiple instances, and it's very true in your group. Being around those members and your board at the event at Movement is Medicine um, really gave me also a push to know that what I'm doing is good, and gave me energy to also move forward. I think COVID taught us a lot. And one of those things is that community is extremely important. And when we have the loss of community, like we did during the lockdown,
Yeah.
that can impact so many parts of our health, our physical health, our mental health, our emotional health. So it's really important to stay plugged in with one another.
So true. Yeah, and that's what I hope to create, that platform for women. Um, that's why it's so amazing when we do different types of events, because
Mhm,
I feel like, I'm hoping that women in the area will feel called to come to an event that speaks to them. And if
mhm.
we do different ones, it really just expands our reach.
As we get older, right, and we get more settled in our ways and our jobs, our careers, it does become harder to make friends, to make those connections. It also becomes harder to be vulnerable and ask questions and be open to receiving something that may is new, or even receiving answers that we're not ready for. I wanted to ask you, when we talk about sexual health and sexual well-being, um, as we do in our own friend groups, if we have that level of comfort, those ladies that have joined the Bold Babe Society, I'm sure everyone's getting closer and closer to one another, friendship-wise. When we open ourselves up to those questions, what are some burning questions that you know uh, have never been asked due to taboos surrounding the topic that maybe you and your friends in the group are talking more about, or members of the group are talking more about?
Yeah. And I think that, well, this definitely comes with as we get older. I mean, I feel like
Mhm,
for me at least, um, I've always been pretty open, but feeling like I didn't want to make someone uncomfortable talking about, women's sexuality and sexual health and stuff like that. But I actually have just a quick story that kind of, I can remember. We were at the retreat and we were talking about like masturbating. And
mhm,
it was like, how often do you masturbate? Do you masturbate? And we're just like
mhm,
talking about it. And it's this thing like for masturbation, I think it's a way a woman can connect with herself and really like
mhm,
love herself.
mhm,
But a lot of women don't do it, or they think, like you said, it's a taboo. So I think that's one conversation that has been brought up multiple times. But um, I've always been open to anything. I love conversations about like women's sexuality and stuff.
mhm,
As far as I'm trying to think of anything else, like masturbation for sure, but just even we always talk about like if we're dating someone new, especially like I, I'm so comfortable talking about different things with different people. So I feel like
mhm.
everyone that I've come in contact with, if they ask me a question, I'm like an open book,
Yeah.
because I feel like we have to be open. And why should we not talk about sex? Why shouldn't we talk about our health and like our vaginas and like what's going on? It's part of who we are. And there has just been this whole like dark cloud, or like kind of a closed door situation where we're not supposed to talk about it. But I
Yeah.
feel like there's, especially with the conversation that we had at Movement is Medicine talking about that, but and just more of like a comfortable type of situation, like whether we're at my retreat or just like at a meetup. But um I think more it's just been, your sexual, um like how sexual you are with your partner, or just
Mhm.
how you are with yourself. So I think those
Yeah.
are common conversations that come up.
And there are so many misconceptions and myths around just sex. And I would say one of the biggest is around masturbation, especially when it comes to female self satisfaction. And that's the way I like to describe it, because I feel like the word masturbation is such a loaded word. It's a
I,
loaded term when we as women use it. Now, men throw that word around all the time because they do it all the
they
time, like,
do.
right?
But it's like
Um,
we know that they do it all the time,
yes,
and they talk about that it's all
they
the time.
talk about it and we accept that conversation, but we don't accept necessarily the conversation for ourselves. And so there's a really big that chasm that's been created is for my opinion, for multiple reasons. And the biggest part is level of empowerment that is given to those who have the ability to control the narrative, right? For millennia, Eve is blamed for the downfall of men, right? Of mankind.
Yes,
But what did Adam do to have her by that tree? You know what I'm saying? So we blame women, and we belittle women's sexuality so much, and we tie that into a belief system, into religion, into culture, into all of that.
Hmm.
But what it's really doing is controlling women. And so masturbation, the misconception for women of it being something dirty, when we talk about men, is totally something different. It's like a right to a rite of age, a rite of passage for them.
Yes.
As for women, it's something that you just totally shouldn't do. Um, but the question is why? Because women are either not, are living longer, and you may have a partner that you've lived with and been with for 40 plus years, and they've gone, and you're not ready to be with another partner, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't be satisfied.
Yeah.
Or you're just a young woman who is in a relationship, but you want to be satisfied too. That's part of the game, and it's also, to your point, part of knowing your own body, because there
Yeah.
really is no way that you can have a partner to satisfy you without really understanding what makes you happy, what makes you feel good.
So true. And I think, I mean, I can definitely relate being younger too. I feel like, and I'm sure a lot of women can relate to this as well. When we're younger, for some reason, it's like this predisposition to like, we feel like it's our job to satisfy the man.
Yeah,
It's not our job to be like have the satisfaction on us alone, or that it's a mutual thing, which I think it
yeah,
should be. Two people coming together and getting to be super comfortable. And I mean, I'm still learning that, like, especially I mean, I'm 36 and I'm still learning that, it does take two people to come together in that sexual relationship. And
mhm,
it both need to be met and you can explore things. And it's not just like a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Like it's all about the man getting satisfied, um,
yeah,
and the woman being there to please the man, and it is kind of the whole thing you were talking about. Like the female empowerment hasn't, factor hasn't been there
yeah.
in that sexuality and in the bedroom too.
So I would say for my generation and generations past, that's the main thing. You're taught that your satisfaction is tied into how well you satisfy your partner. So if you were able to make them happy in the bedroom, you make them happy in the kitchen, you make them happy in the home, you make them happy in the bedroom, you should be happy with that because you've done your job, which is obviously a myth. Otherwise, people wouldn't cheat, right? So, but do you think that for I call myself a geriatric millennial. Tomorrow's my birthday, actually.
Happy early birthday.
Thank you. And for the entire year, I've been a year older than I actually am.
Yeah.
For the entire year, I've been 42, but I'm turning 42 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
realize that until like a couple of weeks ago. My husband's like, "You were not 40. You are not turning 43."
Yeah.
But anyway, but I'm
Yeah.
telling everybody that because of my mind. But that being said, so that is something that many women I know grew up believing because their mothers and their grandmothers grew up teaching them you needed to please your partner,
Yep.
if you have a male partner. Do you think that's something that's still really live and something that's still believed today with younger millennials? With what is that generation Z also, because older generation Z or Gen Z, they're of age of consent. Do you think that they're seeing sex as taboo the same way we saw it, or are they also seeing sex the same way, being taught, young women being taught the way we were taught?
I think that they're seeing it a little bit differently
Hmm.
now, especially like it's actually really cool being that, obviously being, part of the Bull Babe Society, but also like I have a spa and I
Hmm.
swear there's always like it's like my little chamber of secrets, I like to call
Hmm.
it. So we always have those conversations because, as women, we're just so like we're open books. And so we do talk
Yeah.
about that. I feel like it has changed a lot from like my generation to the earlier ones.
Hmm.
Um, that they are exploring more and they are like kind of they're taking more power.
Hmm.
I think that social media has helped. I mean, I feel like it's also hurt us in a way, but I think that it's definitely helped kind of pave the way to being more open with your sexuality, being more open to asking for what you want, from your partner. but getting to know your body. Like self-care has really been, it has just, really grown in the generations. And I
Yeah,
think that's another thing that's really come into play as far as like women's sexual health. We want
yeah,
to like really take care of ourselves, and like what are ways we can take care of ourselves. I mean, I even remember like, reading this article, like how, masturbating is actually good for, it's healthy for you, right? Or
yeah,
something like that. I'm sure you have, which I would love to hear, but
yeah.
about like how it's good for your health and the benefits of it. And why it's important for women to do it, because obviously, like we said earlier, men are doing it as well.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
definitely think that it's changing.
so I always say if you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so having blood flow to your genitalia allows your genitalia to flourish, allows your clitoris to have the ability to be engorged and get the nutrients that it needs, and the other parts of your vulva and vagina, the nutrients that needs to be healthy. So if you don't use it, you'll lose it. And the orgasm is like one of the best things anybody could do to themselves, really, for like, let's
Yes.
start just with the endorphins that you're releasing.
Oh my God.
Like that dopamine, bath of dopamine that your brain gets when
Yeah.
you orgasm. That is a wonderful thing for just overall well-being. Your heart rate goes up. You have blood moving, so your cardiovascular system is being engaged. The activity of sex, you're moving your muscles, you're contracting, you're moving your joints, you're lubricating your joints with fluid, so they're getting engaged. And then, you know, when you have that orgasm, which is the peak of the response, right? And then you go down into that resolution section. When we talk about the overall sexual response system, there's still hormones of affection that your body is releasing. And so
Mhm.
this is also why it's important. Like the character Samantha in Sex and the
Yes.
City,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
By far, before I even knew I was going to go into sexual medicine, by far my favorite character, because I felt that she of all the entire group was the most driven,
Yep.
right? If you want to talk about level of work life balance and success, she was extremely successful, and she was extremely sexual
Yeah.
too, and so I see that figure back when Sex and the City first aired, because I was in college, high school and college. Her character was a bit controversial,
Mhm.
but she's seen in a different light now,
Yep.
right? But that being said, there is something to really understand about the level of connection you get with a partner that you know well, and you both you're having sex to exchange feelings and emotion with one another.
Yeah.
And so that's a very healthy thing to do. Yes, it's nice to be sexually active. The conversation of being promiscuous, we're not going to have that here. But when you have sex with a partner that you care for and love, there's so much that's released that brings that connection together and
Oh
brings it
yeah.
together stronger,
Yeah.
during an orgasm.
Yeah.
And also with masturbation too, because you still have those hormones of connection that you release still during that stage of resolution. So anyway, yes, you're engaging your cardiovascular, your musculoskeletal, your mental health. You're engaging all these systems, your endocrine system, and you're engaging all of them
Yeah.
with just that simple act of orgasm.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a beautiful thing. Like, and I've definitely, I mean, even first, what was it? When I moved into one of my girlfriend's house, I was like, I'm not doing it because I felt like uncomfortable doing it.
Yeah,
And then I realized that I wasn't, taking that time for myself. And I was like,
yeah,
no. And then it was honestly one of the girls, it was at my retreat. That's when we got talking on the
yeah,
topic. And they're like, you need to go home and do it. And I'm like, you know what? You're right. And so I did
yeah,
it. And I was
yeah,
like, oh my gosh. And just like it is, it's definitely like, it's a part to connect with yourself, but it's also that like reach of like orgasm. It releases all those hormones, and it's just
yes,
like you said, there are so many health benefits there.
yeah,
And like, I have to say something funny. I love actually before I go on any dates with anybody, I love
mhm,
to actually like masturbate before, because
mhm,
one, I feel like it makes me connect with myself, and two,
mhm.
I don't go into the date feeling super like like horny or like something where I'm like,
Yes.
hey, like I need to connect with somebody. I'm like, I'm good. Like I've had my time with myself. Like I can, take this slow. But I think that's a great like tip that I've told my girlfriends. I was like, just take time for yourself and then you won't feel like any pent up, you know.
You don't feel the need to release,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes that can put you in a dangerous place. You're right. It's almost like eating before you go out so you don't
Yeah.
overeat
For
while
sure.
you're out.
For sure. Yeah.
Pre-gaming at home.
Right?
So you don't spend so much when you go out.
Yes, exactly. So I'm like, just so you know, a quick little thing of advice. I'm like, I think it's great. But yeah, I mean, it's been so nice to feel and I've gotten the feedback from women, they feel so comfortable coming to events, but like to break into those conversations. And I think just by having the conversations is how we start, you
Well,
know.
and with those conversations, you're redefining boundaries, and do you think now that there is a change in boundaries on how you talk about sex, those first dates that you go on, are the conversations different? Is there a point? Because it's overall health we're talking about, right?
That's
I rank it up there: sexual health, cardiovascular health, mental health, um, urinary health, like all that. It is up there. But
yeah.
is there a point where it's too personal, it's too much?
I when you're out with somebody, like when you're dating somebody.
When you're dating and even in friendships,
Yeah.
those the times that you're with your friends during your retreat,
Yeah.
is there a point where people are oversharing? Can you ever get to that point?
I mean, honestly, I don't think you can overshare unless you're not being true to yourself.
Mhm.
If you're doing it out of being, I don't know, vindictive or doing it to hurt somebody. I mean, I'm just thinking more of like an emotional standpoint that when you're oversharing, as far
Yeah,
as like I think is if you're oversharing, if you're passing your own personal boundaries or boundaries with somebody else.
yeah.
But it's almost just like reading who you're with, because like I said before, I've always been an open book and I love having conversations about everything really. And um, I feel like if they're showing you that they are open to the conversation, like open it up, open the book. And
Mhm,
I love like
mhm.
kind of pushing the envelope. I say I don't think that conversation,
Yeah,
because I think that it's exciting. And even if I definitely feel more comfortable talking to my girlfriends about it. As
yeah.
I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten more comfortable talking to men about it that I've been with
Mhm,
earlier on in the relationship. But I
mhm.
think it also takes feeling empowered within yourself and feeling empowered around, the people that you're with too. So I definitely think that I don't think that sharing, oversharing is too much.
Does it give you a sense of having more control in the relationship, especially with, potential partners or potential, interests? Um, does it give you a sense of having a bit more control
Oh,
in
for
the
sure.
relationship?
Yeah, and like not that I think that control, but also in control of my own power.
Mhm, mhm,
Because I definitely want to be empowered within myself and my truth and
mhm,
know like this is what I want. This is what I'm seeking in a relationship and like
mhm,
kind of bring that to them to kind of control yeah, the situation to even see if they would be able to, if we'd be able to be a match in that.
mhm. Yes, that's a good point, because, I think sometimes we look for the sexual match, with action as opposed to with conversation
Oh my
first.
gosh, 100%. I mean, that
Yeah,
was, to be honest, that was a lot of my college years.
yeah,
Like it was, I had to really step into my self-worth for sure.
yeah,
And I felt like if I had that sexual connection with a man first, the emotional connection would follow.
mhm,
And now at the age that I'm at, I've learned that it's the emotional connection first and then
mhm,
the physical connection comes after. And that's what
mhm,
makes it last longer. And if it's meant
mhm.
to make your bond even stronger together and you'll just have such a better relationship.
So we're viewed women, right? We're viewed in a different lens when we talk openly about sex.
Oh, 100%.
And that's the unfortunate thing, just like we talked about with masturbation, men can
Yeah.
have the conversation, but women historically can't. So how do you walk that fine line? For me, as a before you answer that question, let me just say, for me as a practitioner, I definitely know when I walk in the room and people ask me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I practice sexual medicine." I always get a what? You know?
Yeah.
And it's not a hard word to understand. It's sex. I practice the medicine of sex, and I'm very open about it. But I do get judged as soon as I say that, and I oftentimes wonder because I see the judgment and I feel the judgment. I oftentimes wonder if it were my husband, who he works with me in the practice,
Mhm.
therefore, and he's a urologist, therefore, he practices sexual medicine, even in his own, own practice. Would the experience be the same, or the reception be the same? Because
Mhm.
Viagra, he gives that out like candy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Talks about it all the time. But the
Yeah.
moment I talk about a clitoral stimulator as the tool to help, I there's a different response. So how do you I'm learning how to walk that line in my professional settings,
Yeah.
because obviously I need to be open so I can have business, and I need to be
For
open
sure.
about
Right.
what.
Yeah. You will.
But
You'll always, yeah, you'll always
yeah,
have this.
and
Yeah.
I literally just lead with my lead foot first, and just come in
Yeah.
off the bat. This is what we do. This is what we take care of. I'm trying to have you help you have better orgasms.
Amazing.
Sometimes people
Yeah.
want to behave as if they don't want better orgasms. I don't know who doesn't want better orgasms, but so I do get that stunned look oftentimes in the personal relationship. How do you walk that line, between that is drawn out for us as women, between being forthcoming with your sexuality,
Mhm.
what you want and what you expect, and being judged? Do you care? Do you not care?
Honestly, in my younger years, I cared. I care
Mhm,
less now because I feel like my partner he's going to respect my past
mhm,
and my sexuality and where I am, and he's going to love that part. Or,
yeah,
my partner is going to. But in the past, it was like I was scared. I didn't want, it's almost like this idea of, and I think it's probably societal norms, or just we have to be this perfect, like, virgin, or this
yeah,
perfect, pure woman. And because we've had sex, that means we're not pure anymore. But now it's actually so empowering that, like, if I'm a sexual being, like, I've had sexual relations where I am able to be in tune with my body, and I know my body, and
mhm,
I'm comfortable being, having sexual relations with a partner and just learning about them, but learning about myself. So I think definitely, like, I do walk a fine line in the beginning, but I do want it to be open to where I'm comfortable sharing
mhm,
everything,
mhm,
and there's certain things, like, I've even heard this from people. They're like, well, don't tell him how many partners you've had, and don't,
mhm,
and, granted, it's so different for everybody else. It's
yeah,
really, if your partner's asking and you feel like you want to share, you should share. You should be open and honest. And I think that it empowers you, as an individual, and it's having, being a sexual being is something to be just explored, and it's something to celebrate, and it's not something to be ashamed of. And I
yeah,
think when we've walked that fine line, if we do that more times than not, we're walking in a sense of shame. And I don't
yeah,
think that should be how we should live our lives. I think that
yeah.
we should hold shame with our past, and how we've had experiences in our life.
I totally agree, and I'm so glad you said that, because for many women, unfortunately, sex has been abused.
Yeah,
Sex has been misused, and many women are coming into relationships with that trauma, you
100%.
know, and but they deserve to also have orgasms. They deserve to also have sexual relationships in which they feel whole, and they feel heard, and they feel safe. Um, And so I feel like those women need to hear this too,
Yeah.
you living in your true sexual self, you being open and honest and leaning into that, even if you've gone through a trauma, it doesn't mean it's not a negative for you.
100%. Yeah, I mean it's so true. And I myself, I've had some sexual traumas in my life, and
Mhm.
I believe that most women have than not, unfortunately, and
Yeah,
men as well. We've all
yeah,
had trauma, some sort of some type of trauma in our life.
yeah,
Um, I I definitely think that it's been opened up more over the past couple years to really sit with your traumas and heal your traumas. Like it's
yeah,
like in the generations before us, it was like don't talk about it. It didn't
yeah,
happen. All these things. And I just celebrate where we're at because we are growing, and it is okay to start talking about your traumas. It's okay to start acknowledging where you came from and to heal that part of you,
yeah,
because I mean, trauma, it makes you shameful of who you are. And then, especially being a sexual being and being with someone else, it's hard to show them that part of you. I think that's why therapy is so important, doing
mhm,
that. Even someone coming to see you, even if they're having trouble orgasming, whether it be with a partner or just with
mhm,
themselves,
mhm,
like how therapeutic would that be? Because I know a lot of women as well that they actually can't, they feel like they can't have orgasms
mhm,
because
mhm.
they have had a sense of trauma, and it's put
Yeah,
them in this bad place to where they feel like unsafe. And they're feeling an immense shame about it, and or they're just not feeling like they can really connect with their bodies.
yeah,
So I definitely think that we're on the road to getting better. But I love conversations like this because we need to have more of these.
yeah. We need to have more of these with one another. We need to have more of these with our partners because you're right. If you are someone who's been a victim, sometimes the act of sex with your partner can feel like you're being victimized again. And it's really important to be able to be open and feel comfortable enough to have that conversation. Otherwise, that healing process will it may never you may never truly and fully heal and be able to enjoy the benefits of a sexual relationship with your partner or even a sexual relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
In our last moments, Christiana, do you have anything that knowing that you've had that unfortunate history of being victimized, and many of us have. Do you have anything that you would want to say to someone now, maybe that is in that position where if they've been on that end of trauma and they're trying to regain confidence in their sexual life and sexuality?
Oh yes. I love that you asked me that. Yeah, I think first that you're not alone. There are so many people that have gone through things like this. And that's not to just discredit the trauma that you've been in, because your story is your own. I would definitely say that had nothing to do with you as an individual person. It wasn't, unfortunately, it was done to you physically, but it had nothing to do with you. It was that person's fault, or that unfortunately that happened to you. So to take the responsibility off of you, I think was a huge thing I had to really heal from, realizing that it wasn't my fault, um, the person's fault, and to also just continue to heal and to give myself that love and acceptance. Um, yeah, and I think that in the end, making sure that you have the support from a friend, a mentor, someone close to you, to be able to, like you said, have these conversations with, because once you speak it out loud, you can start to heal.
Yeah.
And with for me, the person that I was victimized by or passed away. So luckily, I don't have to. It's he's not on the living earth anymore, but I was able to forgive him, which
Hmm.
I think that's a huge piece too. So if
Hmm.
you can try to forgive, um, that person for your trauma. I think that is going to be huge too. But just in the long run, just knowing that you are not alone. You never are alone, and there's room for healing, and that you're worthy of letting go of that, and you're responsible for setting yourself free.
Mhm. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being with us today and having this conversation. I'm so happy and also proud that the Bold Babe Society is behind women making these journeys and putting away these taboos, dispelling them, and redefining the boundaries that have been set upon us for sex, sexual health, work, a life balance, motherhood, just womanhood as a whole, because it's necessary. We're more than meets the eye. We're more than what people tell us that we should be. And groups like yours really help move the needle on what it really means to have empowered women empowering other women. So thank you so much for being with us tonight. I know tomorrow you have a holiday market. Just want to give you time to talk about that before we go. We're going to be participating also.
I know. I'm so excited to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're really, really looking forward to it. We have amazing vendors that are going to come and just set up, shop and show us what they're making. I mean, we have you coming to share all of your like exciting little things, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you're bringing lots of goodies for us. It's just
Yeah.
perfect. Yes.
Yes.
I mean, just always just whether it's a gift for yourself, or definitely like getting the holiday started with the shopping. We have artists there. We will have permanent jewelry. I'm going to have my hat making bar there so you can come make a fun hat and get branded. We have a boutique there. We have, there is a naturally inspired botanical. She's going to have some oil rollers and candles. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I'm like, I need to figure out. Um, yeah, we just have a bunch of vendors. I know I didn't mention everybody, but please, go to our Instagram. We have tagged everybody. But it's just local female businesses and everything they're creating. So just bringing those women together, getting us all together in a room so we can all shop around and connect and celebrate everybody. And just, it's going to be a great night. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it also. We're going to have a lot of wonderful gifts that can be used on self.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'm buying myself a Christmas gift.
My dear, thank you, Christiana, for being with us tonight. Thank you for your time.
Of course. Thank you
And
so
this
much
is
for having me. Yeah, it was
you're
an
welcome, my
honor.
dear. Yeah,
This
we'll
was
do
so
this
much
again.
fun. Okay, good.
Do
I
this
can't
again.
wait. Yes.
Good.
This is great. I
And
will see you tomorrow.
we have all the information down here for those who want to check out the holiday market for tomorrow, and also your organization too for all the meetups that you have.
Perfect. Yes, please follow us at the Bull Babe Society, and then the bullbabesociety.com for all future stuff. I know that we're located in Virginia Beach, but I know we will be expanding because I have a feeling this is going to grow. So
yeah, you're a fun group, and you're a very energetic group, and I think you're right. You will be spreading to other places too. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
This is Climax After Dark.
Bye.